Yo! Alright, so here's a little overview update of the race cars, quote unquote. HSP Brontosaurus, or model number 94111. Sometimes they have other names. It's also pretty much the same as a Redcat Volcano EPX. 10th scale 4x4. You can get them with brush motors, brushless motors, 2S, 3S, whatever. I would recommend getting the cheapest one you can and then upgrading all the stuff inside, or just get something that's not going to break all the time. Really, there's way better options, but if you happen to have one of these, or you want to just like spend the least amount possible initially, in Canada anyways, HSP Brontosaurus is the way to go. So take a little look at them here and give you the quick overview. That's Super Cosiness. That is Silver Sable. This is Super Tofu, or Cozy Tofu, or Super Cosiness. All that comes from an old body that I used to have on here, which was, I believe, supposed to say Super Cosine SS, but actually looks like Super Cosiness, which is really funny, and I love it. So, and now it has the initial D body, which is the Tofu. So this is Super Cozy Tofu, and it has a Quicrun 60 amp in there, 2600 kV, a little bit lower speed, and then I have a 21 tooth pinion on there, running the stock HSP receivers on both of them, and then the Amazon special 25 kg servos, which have worked really well. You know, this is so light that this servo is never even trying. The Quicrun 60 amp works great for basic stuff like this. The only real downside to this is you can't turn up the BEC power, so you can't get the servo to get more power. This is, so that's the speed with the 6 volts. Not very fast. So this one has the Quicrun with 6 volts going to the servo. This one has the Max10 with 7.4 volts going to the servo. And here is the difference in speed. That's moving as fast as it can. That's moving as fast as it can. And that's why we put them on stands when we're fucking around. Bend over and hit the fucking trigger. Anyways, that's what's up with that. Pretty decent. And this just has too much slop in the suspension to actually work. Not a bad idea to do with these is turn down the steering as much as you can and still have steering. It'll really help save things from breaking. The other thing I'm running on both of these is these wheel spacers. So they're not very large. I think these ones are 10 mil maybe. And then these ones on this are a little bit bigger, but those are nice. Give you a little bit wider stance. With these lightweight tires, it doesn't really put any pressure on anything. So that is Super Cozy Tofu. And this is Super Sable, Silver Sable, Slippery Silverfish, whatever the hell. Something silver, something sable. Running a Hobbywing Max10 SCT and a 3200 kV motor. This one I usually run on 3S, but it breaks stuff. Both of these, if you run them on 2S, they will rarely break anything. If you run them on 3S, they'll constantly be breaking. This one's heavier, a little more power, a little more predictable. It has bigger wheels, which don't fold over and slide out. Don't have those sharp corners, so they're a lot more predictable. It also has a little more power, so you don't get cuts and surges. It's more consistent. And then the main thing with this one actually is these shocks actually have internals that sort of function. The other car, the pistons are so small inside the shaft that no matter how thick of oil you put in, it just bounces, whereas these ones actually have some damping. Went through all of my mini shocks because I've gotten replacements for these and everything, and found all the pistons that were just a little bit bigger and sealed up in the shafts and put those all on this car. So they have a little bit more damping, a little bit more control. The shocks also leak a bunch, so they're starting to lose their damping, but I have gear oil, like 80 weight gear oil in here, and it still bounces like that. But it actually makes quite a difference compared to the other car. When you drive these back to back, the other one feels way different. And this one I'm running at the smallest possible pinion, 17 tooth, which is the smallest you can get. These are Mod 06 gears, which are rather uncommon, but you can get pinions for them. This is the smallest one that will fit, basically 17. So that gives me relatively good torque with this one, and still more high speed than I can ever actually use. Both of these, last time I did a speed test, they both did about 50 kilometers an hour, which is, I don't know, 38 or something miles an hour, which is decent, but they're also really, really hard to control at that speed. They just flail around, and there's so much slop in the steering that they have a hard time controlling. But if you put a gyro in here, the gyro helps quite a bit. It does tiny adjustments that you don't notice, but basically cancels out the slop. And I put the gyro in my better car, but I don't actually need it in that one. I have it turned off in the Tekno because the Tekno, it handles so sharp. But these ones actually really benefit from a gyro. Some of the other differences from the more stock platform is this one has the Redcat battery tray. This is taller than the stock one and allows you to put in a much bigger battery, like this taller 3S battery, which has actually worked really well. That in there, I did have to relocate the holes a little bit. So this is the normal mounting hole here and here, but for this one, needed to use here and here, and then had to take out the little guides because those are meant for a round battery rather than a square one. But these are easy. You just drill the holes and then use a big bit or a countersink bit to countersink them, and works great. I beat the hell out of this and it survived really well. Same servo, same receiver, and this is just the stock controller that I run on both. And these actually work really good. The batteries, even if you let these sit for years, the batteries don't discharge, which is unbelievable. Not that you should do that, but it's happened. They don't have very good adjustability or anything, but they have great range and they seem to work fine. They're quite responsive too. Much better than this. This is what came with my Night Runner. It's the Associated XP130. Tons of adjustment, but terrible like lag, delay, just really unresponsive. And it works okay for a crawler, but terrible for anything that goes fast. So not a fan of those, but these work really good. This though, obviously, this is my favorite. FlySky GT5 is the best. Cheap, works amazing, tons of adjustability, lots of channels, gyro in the receiver, awesome. Digression complete. So that's a little update. Get out there and build a track and do some goofy shit. It's super fun.